Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
How's Ovi dealing with the fact that clearly, is it officially a rebuild? Like, they're selling off. How's your star, who's in the twilight of his career, feel about this, do you think?
Well, you know, the biggest thing, he understands the business of the game. Remember, he came here, there was a complete sell-off to get him, to make sure that, you know, they were one of those teams that could get him. And it was between he and Malkin, and, you know, they kind of bluffed everyone and made it sound like they were taking Malkin. They picked Ovi, and those first few teams weren't that good, even though he was that good. He's not the same player he used to be. I think he still has to elevate his play for the remainder of his contract and make sure he does everything he can in the offseason to reclaim his career. I want to see him end it as a true superstar. And as the team is selling off, you know, he hasn't been at his best this year, but it's just part of the business, and everyone's got to deal with it because he needs to be better. Everyone needs to be better. Coaching staff, everyone on this roster, goaltenders included. No matter who gets the jersey, I want them all earning their money and putting their best foot forward. It doesn't matter who your teammates are. Once you pull that jersey on, you are an NHL player. Play like it, own it, go for it, and do everything you can to be the best you.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a maiden voyage for the PWHL. It's gone better than people would have hoped, I would think, from what I can see.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it from Stan Kasten just last week. Even he said it's exceeded my expectations, meaning he had high expectations.
How about that?
To have this access to women's hockey. And it truly is about access. It just truly is a big part of this whole change and this instrumental change.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
It sure is. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome inside the RP show. It is your favorite daytime sports talk show. I know there's choices out there. That's what I heard anyways. Thanks for making us part of your day. Very special day for two reasons. It's a football Friday, and it's NHL trade deadline day. The trade deadline coming up Friday afternoon, this afternoon. 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour after we get off the air. We're going to go back and forth between football and hockey, hockey and football. We got a variety of topics as we bring the Moose in now on a very big day at the Montana's Brier and Regina. And that reminds me, Jim Barker will be with us, our football analyst in hour one. Alan Cameron from Curling Canada in hour two. Holy, yeah, I got to calm down, man. It's a big day. Darren, just give me the vibe, please, at the Montana's Brier at the Brand Center in Regina on playoff day there. Very big day.
Very big day here at the Brier. It's quiet-ish at the Brand Center. The set is packed with people, but the Brier is not. The games won't start till a little later on this afternoon. Yeah. They're doing a big announcement coming up. They got a big announcement that's coming down here in the next little bit. Regarding the 2025 World Championships. So lots of action here at the Brier, and then the playoffs this afternoon.
Okay, we're going to get right down to it. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? And
Hot damn!
It's going to take more than 2 hours to get through everything here today. I know that for a fact. But the big story, we do it every day. We open with a big story. It was the news last night. The Carolina Hurricanes made the biggest splash in the league on the eve of the NHL trade deadline. Carolina acquiring two-time 40-goal scorer Jake Guentzel in a blockbuster deal finalized Thursday night with the Penguins. Guentzel was considered the top player available at the deadline, but that's so last night. So today, here's what's gone on. Winnipeg, they can celebrate there. They got their winger. Tyler Toffoli is going from the New Jersey Devils to the Winnipeg Jets. Draft picks going the other way. Pat Maroon, Stanley Cup champion from Tampa, being dealt from Minnesota to Boston. Evgeny Kuznetsov has been moved from Washington to Carolina. We talked about him just yesterday with Alan May, and I think Alan intimated that Kuznetsov's days were done in the NHL. Nope. Now he's on the contending Carolina Hurricanes. Brandstrom dealt from Tampa Bay to Ottawa. Kyle Okposo going from the Buffalo Sabres to here. The Florida Panthers acquiring Kyle Okposo last night, and Jordan Eberle's not going anywhere. He signed a 2-year extension with the Seattle Kraken. So to be honest with you, it's been wild, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the NHL trades because there's a lot of other people doing that, and people came here today for other topics. But I feel like just about everybody's got involved. Like everybody's made their deal. The Jets now, the Leafs now, Vegas, we covered this yesterday. The Oilers, by 3 p.m. this afternoon, Darren, it will be over. I mean, it's hard to pick a team that was not involved in this trade deadline.
It is. And these teams might not be done either. We thought maybe Carolina, after getting Gensel last night, that was their big move, and maybe they were done. But getting Kuznetsov, who we weren't sure if he was going to be able to come back to the NHL and what his future was, and talking to Alan May and stuff yesterday in Washington, that's another big get for the Hurricanes, who are now kind of pushing their chips into the middle and taking a run at what's a pretty wide open Eastern Conference. So I think there's potential for a lot more to happen here this afternoon.
Okay, well, this is why I want to remind everybody it's very important to have trust in the insiders, because I've seen a lot of fake news out there, and you do, be honest, you can't remember that what you hear from everybody. It all becomes, to me, a muddled mess. And I heard in Vancouver, although they have not been overly active the last 24, 48, 72 hours, they got Elias Lidstrom just before the NHL All-Star game, Elias Lindholm. Yeah, I got it. I was getting there. And now I heard that they wanted to shop him, that they're not happy with him. I heard that. And now this is our poll question today. Sidney Crosby has said that he would be willing to take a trade, accept the trade, if it was the right teams. So you came up with that as the poll question today, Darren. So explain how you worded it. And that will be the poll question for until the trade deadline.
Would you trade Sidney Crosby? Simple, very simple. Would you trade him? And we'll see if the Penguins decide to make that move. I don't know that teams are sitting here thinking that Crosby was available or having packages available for Sidney Crosby. But would you trade him? I think if the Penguins are going in this rebuild mode, you have to think about it. You have to consider it. So the options were yes, no, and I'd consider it.
Okay. Did you put that on Twitter? Because I can't find it.
Yeah, it should have been posted just before the show.
Okay. Well, it might be because my internet's running a little slow today. I don't know. What are they saying on YouTube, Clark? Did you throw it up on there? Would you trade Sidney Crosby? 62% saying yes. Well, yeah, here's the thing. With guys like that, you kind of ask them what they want. Do you want to stay or do you want to go, Sidney? And it sounds like he's willing to be traded. So in that case, we say yes. We move on to point 2. We talked about this off the top. I'm just going to read it. The field is set for the start of the playoffs today at the Montana's Brier. Northwest Territories' Jamie Cooey, Saskatchewan's Mike McEwen, and defending champion Brad Gushue all advanced from Pool B. Meanwhile, Manitoba's Reed Carruthers, Alberta's Brendan Botcher, and Manitoba's Matt Dunstone made it in Pool A. So this afternoon, 2 p.m., Mike McEwen meets Brendan Botcher. It's Gushue versus Carruthers. The winners head to Saturday's Page playoff game that sends the victor to the final and the loser to the semifinal on Sunday. This afternoon's losers play again tonight in the evening against third seeds Cooey and Dunstone. If that sounds confusing to you, it is, and we don't have time today to straighten it out. Not here, not now. Moving on. I'm going to read this. This will be a theme. We'll spend more time on this with Jim Barker when he joins us next. NFL free agency is set to kick off in just a matter of days when the 2-day legal tampering period begins at noon Eastern on March 11th. Deals for players can become official once the NFL's new league year starts at 4 p.m. on March 13th. The list remains the same from USA Today. The top free agents: defensive tackle Chris Jones, running back Saquon Barkley, quarterback Kirk Cousins, and defensive tackle Christian Wilkins are some of the top players scheduled to enter free agency this year. And just for spits and giggles, because it's changed this week with the Denver Broncos informing Russell Wilson on Monday that they're releasing him. I'm not sure whether they officially have or not, but he's going to be out. He will enter that free agency pool. So a couple things I've heard via the rumor mill this week, Darren, I'm not sure how much you've had your ear to the ground between NHL trade deadline and the Brier, but I've heard Kirk Cousins will re-sign in Minnesota. He'll stay there. Russell Wilson has entered this pool. If you were ranking him today, where would you put him? I've got the number from USA Today, and they're normally pretty good and accurate with this stuff, but where would you put Russell Wilson? No wrong answer here right now for the list of top pending free agents.
I think Russell Wilson is still a top 10 free agent. I do. I don't think he's going to be the prize free agent. I don't think he's a lot of teams' first option right now, especially, with the 4 really good options coming up in the draft. I think you might want to put assets there. But I think he's still a top 10 free agent. If you put him in the right system, he's a leader. He's somebody who can come in with experience. So if you've got a roster around Russell Wilson, I think there's an opportunity to win. So I'll have him in the top 10.
I'm actually totally with you, but USA Today has him rated 31st. Russell Wilson, 31st. So we'll put that to Jim Barker, among other things, when he joins us next. But again, NFL free agency beginning on March 11th. If you thought it was head spinning now with the NHL, just wait. Now, to something fun. I was a little frazzled. That's why, coming on the air today, I'll get to the viewer comments later in the show, not necessarily right now. You're welcome to write in on streaming, of course. We encourage that. But for right now, I'm just not looking at it. And the Sober Carpenter text line is open, 902-518-3033. A little later on, I'll be cracking a Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beer, maybe going into hour 2. But it was a little frantic here today, Darren, because as I told you, I've been asked to participate in a streaming documentary, maybe even a series, will depend how long this goes, on a Canadian Football League topic. Just this morning, there was a crew here. You'd notice our sets a little changed around because we filmed it in the backyard here. I was interviewed for a CFL streaming documentary. I'm not going to say what streaming service it'll be on, but I'm wondering, I always want to ask the viewers, because a lot of the football fans have come here today on a Football Friday. This is when we talk football, is here today. What do you think the series is? What do you think the documentary is? Now, so that's not fair. I should have probably not told you that. But to the audience, I've thrown out some ideas in the past in my columns, like the decade of decadence, the run of the Saskatchewan Roughriders from 2005 to 2014, 4 Grey Cup appearances, 2 wins. Had so much success, we built a new stadium. That's just us. And by the way, that's not what this is, this doc. But what would it be? 3 times in Ottawa, Ottawa Roughriders, Ottawa Renegades, Ottawa Red Blacks, and that series in the nation's capital. U.S. expansion is a great story in the Canadian Football League. What comes to mind for you? What's a documentary you'd like to see streaming from the CFL?
Yeah. The decade of decadence obviously would be great. I like the idea of Ottawa 3 times, the U.S. expansion. How about like the football life things, on the fluties, the 2 fluties? That would be really good. How about simply what the CFL was like in Vegas? Because we hear all these stories about Vegas, right? Yeah. I would love to hear about Vegas and the CFL and what that was all about. That would be really cool. How about the Edmonton teams, the great Edmonton teams, and Warren Moon and that era? How about a documentary on that? There's a lot that come to mind for me, so it's going to be great, whatever it is.
I know it's going to be great, and I was with the filmmaker today. He's like, this isn't going to necessarily be Spielberg here, but it's going to be, I'm doing it. And I'm like, if you're doing it, it's going to be great. So I know what it is, and I hate to tease you people, but I also love it. It's John Ohm. He's watching. Ohm writes in. He says, wow, you got my curiosity way up on this streaming news, Rod. Well, it's not even really news. It's a documentary streaming series going to be done on a CFL topic. And I'm just asking people what you think it might be. Jeff, the Stamps fan, with a great one. He goes, the Stampeders' success, the 2 best coaches and GMs in league history. There's a ton of series here, if you really looked into it. He says it needs to be a series. So many good stories, good and bad. I am going to delve into a few comments from the crowd. David, number 1 in Winnipeg, writes in. He says, checking in from Winnipeg, Rod Squad. Happy with the Toffoli trade so far. Hope another move is coming. For now, back to Trade Center. Have a great Friday and weekend, everyone. That's the point. I'm not going to sit here and analyze all these NHL trades. There's enough networks doing that. We're going to talk about some other things. Darren in Utah writes in, and he says, Rod, great shirt. Looks like it came from the Jimmy Buffett collection. Well, I've watched those Football Life documentaries, as have you, or The Last Dance, Michael Jordan sitting by the ocean here in Jupiter, 40 miles up the road from me. I'm like, I'm going to dress it all up like that because I've watched all those shows, and it looks great. So that's part of what we're doing today. It's just, there's so much going on, man. Brent here in Florida writes in, and he says, U.S. imports would be my guess. The story of Americans in the Canadian Football League. That would be a good one. So that's all part of what we're talking about. Yeah. The Canadian Football League announcing they'll be hosting 2 passing showcases in March to assist in the development of the next generation of Canadian football players. The East event just outside Halifax runs March 15th to the 17th before its Western counterpart takes place in Edmonton on March 29th. 7 on 8 passing showcases for youngsters, the next generation of players. We'll talk about that with Jim Barker next segment. I've been to those here in Coral Springs, Florida. 7 on 7, they call it down here. They're amazing. But we'll talk to Jim more about that. Point 5, Kevin Kiermaier and Daniel Vogelbach each homered as the Toronto Blue Jays took command early and held on for a 5-4 win over the Detroit Tigers in preseason action on Thursday. And in the NBA, point 6, Kevin Durant scored 35 points. Grayson Allen added 26. And the Phoenix Suns beat the Toronto Raptors 120-113 in the NBA Thursday night. We got through all quick 6. Those are the topics. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Let me give you the last 2 minutes, 90 seconds for you, Darren. What is in your sports purview? Because it's a little bit overload for me right now. What I'm looking forward to, by the way, here's my big story. The Calgary Flames are in town tomorrow, and it's Jonathan Huberdeau's return, and that is a big deal. People are excited to see Hubie. What's your big story?
I'm glad you said that because, you know, we have notes that are left on the desk. I showed you this one. It was written on again.
Yeah.
And this was a gift left on our set last night. Calgary Flames.
Nice.
So you got a bell. So more gifts for you when you bring up the Calgary Flames in that game tomorrow. And they unload their players yesterday and play really well against Tampa last night. You know, the Calgary Flames are a team that's hard to really understand, and where they're going to go here the rest of the way. But that's kind of on my mind. You know, the NHL trade deadline's big today, and it's nice that we can have this little window here of the deadline before the curling starts, get that out of the way, and then go watch some curling. So I think the day is going to work out pretty nice where I can compartmentalize the day into NHL trade deadline now, and then curling starting at 1 o'clock local, and away we go.
John, watching in Edmonton, says, is it Football Friday or NHL trade deadline day on the RP show? John,
Hot damn!
It's both. If you haven't been listening, it's both. We can do it, and we are doing it. It's a sports talk show, and there's a lot of sports going on right now, and we're doing it better than anybody else. Jim Barker's next. See you in top of the hour, Moose.
You bet.
We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Did you know that you can help save life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a Football Friday, just taking a stab at some viewer comments here on the Sober Carpenter text line 902-518-3033. It pertains to our poll question, which we do daily, brought to you by Key Auto Group. Should the Pittsburgh Penguins trade Sidney Crosby or not? Greg in Calgary says, no, let him retire a Penguin like Mario did. I'm just saying, let him decide what he wants. He's that kind of player where you decide what he wants. Apparently, he said he's open to being traded. And I was saying, I was interviewed this morning for a streaming documentary on this CFL topic. I'm not saying what it was. What do you think it is? Mark in Burlington, Ontario writes in, he says, the Argos story, Candy, Gretzky, etc. Gary in Penticton, BC says, how about a documentary about all the great CFL quarterbacks? Keep guessing. There's a lot of great stories out there. Jim Barker, we could do a documentary on him and his 5 Grey Cup championships. Hey, Jim, where are we catching up with you today, Coach?
I'm at the regional combine. Well, it's the combine before the combine. So it's guys who didn't get invited to the national trying to get in. And probably the biggest, it's in Waterloo. guys from all over the country. And, it's probably the biggest story is the guy who's not here, DK Bonham, he's an interesting guy. He's from Ottawa, the Ottawa area, but he went to Indiana, played linebacker at Indiana, then went to South Alabama, played 3 games there, and then got hurt, left, didn't play last year, but he's a guy, he's 6'2", 237. He's, played at the highest level down south, and he's not here. He's the one who everybody kind of was really looking forward to. So, you always get the things of, somebody got a hold of him and said, don't go, and we'll draft you in a... Does that happen? Maybe some, but I doubt it. But so that's kind of the biggest story is who's not here.
Well, I read something coming out of the NFL Combine. They're referring to it as the opt-out generation. Let me just say this. As a personnel guy like yourself, how do you feel about a player opting out, no matter what the league is? What does that say?
Well, it's interesting because this morning I was watching the vertical jump, and a kid said he's not jumping, and I looked back and wanted to see him, and afterwards I had moved and I was moving over to the 40, and he comes by and says, "Sir, I know you made not a comment, but made a look at me when I wasn't going. I just want you to know I had a hamstring." A lot of times a guy, if he's going to test, for example, he's a defensive back. If he's going to vertical jump 27 or 28, sometimes maybe they're better to just say they have a sore hamstring or they can't do it. I always look at guys funny that do that, the opting out. Now in the NFL now, the injury stuff, and I get all that. In the CFL, we get a lot of guys who come up that, like at the maiden combine, who maybe won't work out. They'll come and talk to the teams, they'll interview with the teams, but they won't work out. That was Uguak last year, did that. And there'll be a couple this year, and then there's a lot of them that don't go. For example, UBC has 2 guys, Theo Benedet and Giovanni Manu, that both are very, NFL guys, so they're doing their own pro day. And a lot of these guys who play in the States, they have pro days, which are basically combines at their school. So they choose to do that because they'll be seen by more NFL teams rather than come to our combine, which goes from March 20th to March 24th. So again, it's been going on for years. I mean, agents used to, the CFL would fly them in, and then they wouldn't participate in the one-on-one drills and the things that the coaches really wanted to see. So it's kind of been an age-old problem ever since they've started doing combines. But for the most part, a guy, if he's legitimate and good, he's going to go, and he's going to go hard in CFL. I'm not talking about the NFL, because now you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and those agents know where their guys are going to get drafted and that kind of thing. Like Caleb Williams not throwing, is that going to affect his draft status? I would doubt it. All these teams bring these guys in. They're allowed to go visit all these. So it's a totally different thing in the NFL. Our league's not the same. Our league, the combine is important, and guys will move up and down their board based on what they do. So this combine, again, every year is guys who didn't get in the main one. They'll take 4 or 5 guys from this to the main combine, and that's about what, that's about all there'll be. Nobody broke 4.5. 4.55 on the Jim Barker clock, which is the only one I trust, was the fastest time. So, there was nobody. Last year there was a kid who ran 4.3 and change, a York receiver, and then he went to the main combine, and he became more of like the rest of them. So there's nobody here who's really stood out, and but the whole combine thing is a really interesting thing. Now, we'll be doing the show from the regular combine that week because I'll be there. CFL.ca is going to live stream, the combine. So I'll be on the 40 and we'll talk about each player. I grade them just like I'm a GM. I have them ranked. I'm going to talk about guys I think, where they have a chance to play in the CFL, what I think they'll run, what they need to run. For example, I just had a cameraman say, what do you we're doing DBs. What's kind of the cutoff? And I said, well, it's really hard to put a guy who's 4'8" in your secondary in the CFL. The receivers are just too fast, it's just too tough for them to play at corner or halfback as a 4'8" guy. They have to be down in that 4'6" area. If for a linebacker, he needs to be in that 4'8" to 5'1" because it's called long speed, because he's going to be on special teams in the CFL. And if you run a 5'4" here, it's hard to have your special teams coach take a guy who's maybe bigger and try to put him on special teams. So these things are important, and they will move up and down the draft noticeably based on the combines.
Well, and here's the other thing. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but there is a window. Opting out aside, like, for instance, the guy who slept in here in South Florida at a Rider free agent camp that I was at, shows up an hour late, tells Chris Jones, I'm sorry, my alarm clock didn't go off. He's like, sucks to be you. Like, you're done. There's a window, Jim, right? There's a window, and for a lot of players, this is it.
That's true. A lot of these players, if they've run poorly or they don't show, they haven't done any skill things yet, anything on the field yet. But if they don't show something, yeah, their careers in terms of playing in Canada would be over. They can go play, I guess there's leagues where they can play up till they're 22. But in terms of professional football, this is it for a lot of them. So it's a tough road. And when you think about the draft, even out of the draft, if there's going to be maybe 12, 13, 14 guys who actually stick with teams all through the year. And so the odds are really tough. And, so it's a tough business to get into, but you have to seize every opportunity. And that kid who slept in at Jones's workout, now I'm shocked. My guess is he already took the money train. No, he's not even doing workouts anymore because but, it was back in the old days. Actually, John Jenkins and I were the first two that started it back in 97 with Toronto. And Don Matthews, we were getting more calls on these camps we were doing because we were charging $60 in those days. And, so the more guys you get, that $60 per player, and there was two of us there. And Don Matthews walks in one day to Jenks and I, and he says, the YMCA is over. There are no more camps happening. I'm done taking calls, because every phone call was about our camp. So, yeah, and the CFL,
I bet.
Some teams still do them. A lot of teams don't.
Yeah. Well, I was asked this morning in this documentary, if you heard me saying they said, what made Don Matthews special? I'm like, how much time you got? Swagger? I mean, whatever. Hey, I wanted your take on the CFL passing showcases, which were announced for Halifax and Edmonton, 7-on-8. Big deal, man. What do you think about them?
I think it's a great concept, bringing in guys and again, emphasizing what our game is about, which is you have to be able to throw the ball. And, it's a great learning. I don't know what coaches they're going to have there, who's going to be installing the offenses, but it's just great for young kids to get an opportunity to go out and not only show what they can do, but learn from, ideally they'll have real good coaches there and that kind of thing, and help these young quarterbacks with how you read defenses and how you do these things. So anything the CFL does of that nature is helping grow football, and that's what it's all about. I think since I came in the league in 96, the league has grown so much in terms of grassroots. And back in those days, Montreal, there was a great grassroots program. But I know in a lot of other places it wasn't that way, and it just seems like it's grown, and that's good. I think that's why we're seeing so many quality athletes. There was 4 at the NFL Combine, guys who came out of Canadian youth football and went down and played down in the U.S. and whatever. So it's just a testament to what's going on, and the CFL doing its part and that kind of thing is a great thing.
Hey, just lastly, an NFL note, Russell Wilson has come free. He's entered the free agent pool. USA Today has him ranked 31st of the pending top 50 free agents. What's your take on the fact that he's available and that it didn't work in Denver?
Well, the fact it didn't work in Denver isn't a surprise. The Nathaniel Hackett thing he went through, and then he gets Sean Payton there, who's the exact opposite of Nathaniel Hackett. And, he was first got there and he was given his own office and like a coach, and he was treated differently. And then Sean Payton came in, changed. I think it was just a real tough environment for him to have any success in. But he's a guy who's won Super Bowl, or at least been close to winning a Super Bowl. So if you're a team like Pittsburgh, where I think is a team that will definitely be looking at him, you're going to be interested in Russell Wilson. You're not going to have to pay him the same kind of money. And can you get a guy at the end of his career to come in and allow your young guy that you drafted in the first round pick to grow instead of throwing him in there and continuing to beat up his confidence? Let him go and watch the way a pro does it. And for Russell, it will be, okay, now I'm in a normal situation. I go from Denver, which is maybe the most worst situation in terms of continuity and the way they do things, to the best in Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they don't change coaches, and they have a way of doing things. And a guy like Russell Wilson could grasp onto that, know exactly what he has to do, and he'll go in with a chip on his shoulder. So is it the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who's it going to be? The Atlanta Falcons? Is it going to be somebody who has a young quarterback that maybe is just not quite ready, that they don't necessarily want to go out and draft a guy, but they want a guy who can come in and show their guy how to, and Pickett is a perfect example of that kind of guy. I mean, like I say, if B.J. Reader's going to be the guy in Atlanta, then he's the same kind. That's the same thing there. So, I mean, there's some obvious places for him to go, but it's like you and I talked about last week. You don't go to the Super Bowl without that position taken care of. And having a guy who's done it is so important. And he has said he can still play. And again, Ricky Ray, when he came to Toronto, people said he was done in 2012. Well, he won 2 more Grey Cups, 2012 and 2017 in Toronto. So again, when you have guys like that, it always gives you a chance to win. So it won't be shocking to see him, go around and visit a lot of places, and he'll help a team.
Yeah, very valuable guy. As are you, Jim. Thank you for the time. Enjoy the rest of the Combine.
I will. Thanks, Rod.
Our football analyst, Jim Barker. Wow, I did not know he was going to be live at the CFL Combine in Waterloo, Ontario. That's exciting. And our chats with Jim Barker are brought to you by EMJ Marketing, Speakers Bureau, providing the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Look up Joe at emjmarketing.com. We'll be back with a sports update and your comments on a Football Friday and NHL trade deadline day. It's a wild one. And we're live on the Game Plus TV network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody, it's a football Friday, and I don't know about you, but I'm overwhelmed with everything that's going on in sports right now. So we're going to, on this NHL trade deadline day, I'm going to run through what's gone on today. We got a sports update here. Got comments from our viewers. But I think we just need to chill. I know I do. Hubba. It's too much. Put the phone away. This is funny. Chris, and I appreciate those that are tuned in for a Football Friday and the hockey coverage. And I have some other sports that I'm going to get to here in a second. This is kind of funny. Chris in Heidelberg, Ontario has texted in. He's watching on Game Plus TV, and he says, looks like Mr. Barker is in the sports bar at Rim Park in Waterloo. Great Caesar wraps there.
How about that?
And then he writes in, oh, never mind. He isn't in there. My bad. Sorry. I've never been to Waterloo, so I don't know where the hell he was. In a gym somewhere, it looked like. My cousin Jeff in the Calgary area. How about that, Jeff? He writes in, and he says, look at Chuba Hubbard. We watched him in Bantam up in Edmonton, and it's been fun watching him play in the NFL. Carolina Panthers running back, Chuba Hubbard. So, yeah, that's kind of where, that's not the... I wanted to ask Jim about that CFL passing showcase that they're putting on in Halifax and Edmonton. It's great for the Canadian youth. CFL finds itself in an interesting conundrum here right now because the very best of the best of the best Canadian players are going to the NFL. Where does the CFL fit in out of that? They got to find their own way. Putting on this passing showcase, though, is just wonderful for all of Canadian football. So to the Trade Center blog, here's what's going on today. This is from tsn.ca. Veteran forward Jason Zucker is on his way to the Nashville Predators from the Arizona Coyotes. So the Preds are loading up, which we figured that they would. Some teams are gearing down, like Pittsburgh. In a second trade in 2 days, the Pittsburgh Penguins have traded defenseman Chad Rowadell to the New York Rangers. Am I saying that right, Clark? Chad Rowadell to the New York Rangers from Pittsburgh to New York. Defenseman Chad Rowadell. Draft pick going the other way. The Anaheim Ducks have acquired defenseman Ben Myers from the Colorado Avalanche for a 5th-round pick in 2024. The Florida Panthers stayed busy today acquiring veteran forward Kyle Okposo from the Buffalo Sabres. Going the other way are defenseman Callie Jaline and a conditional 7th-round pick. The Boston Bruins have picked up some Stanley Cup winning pedigree. The team has acquired forward, the Bruins have acquired forward Patrick Maroon from the Minnesota Wild. He won 3 consecutive Stanley Cups with the Blues and then 2 with Tampa Bay. The deal to send Evgeny Kuznetsov to the Carolina Hurricanes has been completed. The Washington Capitals sending Evgeny Kuznetsov to the Carolina Hurricanes and will be retaining 50% of his salary. The New Jersey Devils have sent winger Tyler Toffoli to the Winnipeg Jets. That's final. That's for draft picks. So we had Jets fans writing in here yesterday saying, all we need is a right winger now. Well, now you got him. Tyler Toffoli's a Winnipeg Jet. That's a good one. He's a sniper. The Columbus Blue Jackets announcing the acquisition of goaltender Malcolm Subban from the St. Louis Blues in exchange for future considerations. And then Jordan Eberle's not going anywhere. He signed a 2-year, $9.5 million extension with the Seattle Kraken. So that's largely what's gone on today. And I'm sorry, this is just me. It's the Rod Pedersen Show. So I'm going to tell you, I had to step back. I see this headline on Instagram. Was it last night? Eberle and Kraken talks break off. Eberle now on the market. 12 hours later, Eberle signs 2-year deal, extension with the Kraken. It's
How about
too much.
that?
So, to what I had put in my sports update like 4 hours ago. It's not old yet, but you're going to see what I'm saying. The National Lacrosse League. Remember them? They're sitting over there like every other league going, hi. Remember us? The National Lacrosse League continues the March to May with a set of 8 games this weekend, all of which will have at least one local outlet broadcasting. The NLL continues to see a logjam among its mid-tier teams. Now 10 of the 15 squads have 5, 6, or 7 defeats to date, with 4 of this week's games featuring matchups of those that tight in the standings. I would just encourage you to go to NLL.com for more. But we got franchises, you know, from Toronto, going to be soon Ottawa, Halifax, Calgary, Buffalo, Denver, San Diego. I wish one day here, but Vegas. They all got teams. They just don't get any coverage. I don't understand why. And yet the arenas are packed. Back to the NHL for a second. The Winnipeg Jets aim to rebound tonight when they visit the Seattle Kraken in NHL play. Winnipeg's won 6 of their last 8, but fell 4-3 to the Kraken at home on Tuesday. They're now 2 points back of Dallas in the Central. And then there's the Professional Women's Hockey League. I just don't understand this. And bear with me. Here's what the Wire copy says. Toronto looks to extend its winning streak to 9 games tonight when it hosts league best Montreal in the Professional Women's Hockey League. Toronto's won 9 of its last 10, recently coming off a 3-1 home win over Boston on Wednesday. The Professional Women's Hockey League is getting NHL, NFL caliber coverage in Canada. And I just feel like there's other leagues sitting back, like the NLL. Hi. OHL, WHL. We've been here for decades. Why aren't you talking about us? I don't get it. But we are. We're talking about them all. Sports Updates brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And for Landmark Cinemas, In theaters, March 22nd, Landmark Cinemas, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. In the latest Ghostbusters installment, the Spengler family returns to where it all started, the iconic New York City firehouse, to team up with the original Ghostbusters, who've developed a top-secret research lab to take busting ghosts to the next level, starring Paul Rudd, Annie Potts, and Dan Aykroyd. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire in Landmark Cinemas, March 22nd. We'll be back with, finally, viewer takeover right after this final segment of this final break of hour one when we return. We are live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, everybody, it is audience takeover time, and I'm going to be honest, it's just you and me here. And if I really had my druthers, I could do that for 2 hours. You lob me the questions and comments, and I'll read them. I think we could fill 2 hours real easily that way and do it quite entertainingly. We got some really good comments in here today. Most days we do, but today they're extra specially good. Corey's watching in Winnipeg. And by the way, Moose is going to be with us in hour 2. And Alan Cameron from Curling Canada, they got a big announcement they made this morning. Corey, though, in Winnipeg, says, Florida Panthers will see you in the Stanley Cup final. Yours truly, Winnipeg Jets. Well, yeah, I think we can all sign off on what the Winnipeg Jets today in acquiring Tyler Toffoli from the Winnipeg Jets, a guy that led the Flames in goal scoring last year. He's all that. He's won at least one, maybe 2 Stanley Cups with the LA Kings. That's a wonderful pickup for the Winnipeg Jets. Not tinkering too much with the room, but adding a lot of talent and a guy that's won. It's going to be a lot of broken hearts across North America this spring because there's a lot of people that think that they've got Stanley Cup contending teams. So a little bit of a different looking set today from what we normally do. If you missed the start of the show, I said that there was a crew here this morning filming an interview. I was being interviewed for a streaming series on the Canadian Football League that'll be coming out, sounds like in the spring, or in the fall. The guy said the trailer will be released this summer, and I said, what do you, to you, the audience, what do you think that series was about? I can't tell you because this kind of stuff is top secret. I've been around the business long enough to know. He's not ready to divulge that yet. But Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, how about all the great movie stars that came through the CFL, like The Rock, Carl Weathers, Willie Strode, and there are more. And the infamous story of Pam Anderson being discovered on the big screen at a BC Lions game in the 80s. I'm not going to say no to any of these. I might write down all your ideas, though, and put them in my weekend column. But didn't that just tell you? Like, it is the richest history of that league, man. And I mean, the guy that was putting it together, he was like, why do you think the CFL is so memorable with its history compared to all the other leagues? And I'm like, I literally have, you're asking the wrong guy. Which is bad for me to say that because he did come to me for the interview. But I'm like, I don't know. It's just got a great history. Regarding what's going on in the trades, Jen at the Four Seasons writes in and she says, it seems like the Penguins are going into a rebuild. Well, it was a couple weeks ago here. Their radio guy, Josh Getzoff, was on this show just before they started that Western trip. He goes, this upcoming trip's going to tell us where we are with the Penguins. And then they lost 3 in a row in bad fashion, including Oilers and Flames. You know where you are? Not going anywhere. And that's why they're selling everybody off. So when we come back in hour 2, more of the football discussion, obviously, because it's a Football Friday, but a lot of NHL trade deadline discussion and any other sports things that come up, like the big announcement from Curling Canada today that the Worlds will be coming to Moose Jaw in 2025. We cover all sports, and we make it entertaining. We do it every day, and we don't change. And we'll be right back after this brief pause on Game Plus and Key Radio.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, and upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a maiden voyage for the PWHL. It's gone better than people would have hoped, I would think, from what I can see.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it from Stan Kasten just last week. Even he said it's exceeded my expectations, meaning he had high expectations.
How about that?
To have this access to women's hockey. And it truly is about access. It just truly is a big part of this whole change and this instrumental change.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Holy mackerel. What a Friday. Welcome inside hour 2, our final hour of the week. It's a football Friday. We're on Game Plus TV, as you see, but also on the radio in Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. I wonder how many people down there in the Peach City are following NHL trade deadline day. 2 hours from now is the NHL trade deadline. And we've had a lot of moves today. The biggest one catching all of our attention is the Winnipeg Jets, I think, acquiring Tyler Toffoli. Let's bring the Moose in. The Florida Panthers are getting Kyle Poso. We got a whole lot of stuff going on, plus a couple of football items that I want to get to. It is, I don't know, after you left last hour, Darren, I said, I'm officially overwhelmed. Tapped out. And like an idiot, I opened my Twitter, and I see our guy Reed Johnson out in Seattle. He's talking about the United Football League. I see Scott Laughlin, who was on here this week from NHL Radio, tweeting, I think it's going to be a 1996 Stanley Cup final rematch, Colorado versus Florida. What do you people think? And just, it is overload, dude. So what I'm ready for the weekend. I found my Sober Carpenter. This is black ale, non-alcoholic craft beer here, right here, bro. I'm going to cheers. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm done. I can't hear him. Is that just me? Somebody fiddling with Darren's. Okay, now we have you. Do that again.
Good.
Now we have you.
Our buddy Scott, who you know, threatened to drop some beers off here and wanted to say hi to you this week. I haven't seen them yet, but it's Friday. We are now into the afternoon. So it would be great if I could join you in having a drink here this afternoon on the air.
Sure. Why not? They used to sponsor our show. Ask them why they don't anymore. But that's okay, because we got Common Crown out of Calgary, 28th Street Northeast, transforming the average beer into an exceptional experience. Now, the other thing, before we get to the hockey, more of the hockey, please don't let me forget what the take was on Vladimir Tarasenko's debut last night and what the hockey people were saying last night in the press box at the Panthers game. But furthermore, for those that just tuned in, had a television crew, a film crew, not a TV crew. Do we even say that anymore? A film crew here setting up today, and I was interviewed for a streaming series documentary that's coming out on the Canadian Football League. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. The producer said to me, please don't. And I know how that works. You can't, like the one that's coming out on the Expos doesn't even have a name yet. We know that's going to be on Netflix. But this is a CFL series, and I said I wanted to look like the guys do on the football line. When they interviewed Jimmy Johnson by the ocean in the Keys, or Michael Jordan on The Last Dance at his home up in Jupiter with the ocean, I wanted to look like, tropical location. So that's why I put the shirt on out here in the backyard. And I'm asking the audience, what do you think the topic is? And I think I'm going to put all those topics together and put them in my top 10 weekend things, Darren. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, where will this documentary be available, Rod? I can't say. Sorry. Brent in Florida writes in and he says, Moon, Fluties, The Rocket, Johnny Manziel. That in itself would make a great documentary. Like, what would you call that? I don't even know what, not just the Manziel thing. I mean, if you watched the series on Manziel, and you did, people were upset he didn't even mention the CFL. That guy is such a donkey. I'm glad he didn't. I don't want him associated anywhere. People still talk about Manziel being in the CFL, and I wish they wouldn't. But no, it's not about Johnny Manziel. It's not. Colin in Ottawa writes in and says, is it a documentary on Rob Hobson's time as the Rough Riders general manager? He did change your franchise for the better, for sure. Rob Hobson, the Rider GM? I'm sorry, where was I when that happened? Fact check, please. Fact check. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I'm going to crack a few later, too. Who, by the way, you can get Sober Carpenter, Calgary Co-op, wine and spirits. I just want to throw that out. And Wayne in BC says, I still love my Sober Carpenter beer. Yeah, we'll love it forever, man. And this is the black IPA, and it's outstanding. I just want to say this about Tarasenko. I went down to ice level last night. I got to the rink real early, and I didn't want to be that guy, but normally I'm not. But this night I was. I staked out my spot by the ice where there's that, Darren, there's that little hole drilled in the plexiglass for photographers with the shoot through, so they don't. So I went down there. I popped the window out, and I had the splashy camera that Serena got me for Christmas. I finally had a good reason to use it, although I did use it at the Blue Jays game last weekend, on the weekend too. But all these kids came down. It was like 40 minutes before the start of warm-up, let alone opening face-off. All these kids, youth hockey teams, and they're trying to jostle me out of position. And I stood 3 feet apart. Kids, you're not getting by me. I came down here to get a picture of Vladimir Tarasenko, the first shot of him in a Panthers uniform. And I got it. And I had fun kibitzing with the kids, but I'm like, I ain't moving. And then there was one guy chaperoning them. One poor parent. The rest of the parents were probably all in the bar. And he's like, how long before warm-up? And I'm like, bro, they come out with 17 minutes left on the clock. And there was 40 left at that time. And he's like, oh, my God. It's like he wanted to end his life because these kids were just insane. I'm like, he's got to watch them for 23 minutes? I'm like, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got into the game, and hey, and I put some feelers out to my hockey people saying, what are you hearing about Tarasenko? What have you seen with Tarasenko? And the main thing that they all said was that he's lazy. He doesn't have a great work ethic. And I'm like, well, that's all possibly true, but he's also got a Stanley Cup. He's been an all-star. Ottawa was paying him $5 million a year. That's not chump change. So I watched him, and he was back-checking at least 2 times. At least twice I saw him in the defensive zone back-checking, which Paul Maurice had said after the morning skate, everybody on this team is going to be expected to back-check and do all the things that they're asked to do. And if they don't do them, they won't be playing. So I had Jeff, our hotelier to the Stars, texted me. And he said, how did Tarasenko look last night? And I said, like you do on a first date, Jeff, on his best behavior, doing everything he's asked. It's the subsequent dates. As time goes on, the things start to slide. But I think the Florida Panthers, the way they're looking at it is, it's only a couple months left. Can we put up with this for a couple months to help us win a Stanley Cup? That's what I think they're thinking. Because he is all that, man. He's all that. The skill. You can't teach a Clydesdale to be Secretariat. And you also wouldn't put a wagon on Secretariat. Different roles, different jobs. Do you know what I mean? They all got to fit to win a Stanley Cup. So that's what I thought about Tarasenko. He was on his best behavior. So that's what I thought. What are your thoughts on the trades, by the way, as we are 2 hours out from trade deadline?
They're really interesting. Carolina's a team for me that, they're doubling down. They're going all in. I'm really curious to see what Kuzmenko or Kuznetsov can do in Carolina if he comes back to the league and can play well. How much more the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to sell off. Looks like the New Jersey Devils, we wondered what they would do, right? Selling to fully gone. Curious to see what that does in Winnipeg. You and I've been a long time been a proponent of Winnipeg doing nothing. They finally got the culture right with the Winnipeg Jets. So I don't think that they should be making moves. Toffoli coming in has played well in playoffs, going all the way back to the time in LA. So maybe that's a nice asset. I'd be careful not to tinker too much, though. If I'm the Jets, they got a really good thing going. But we'll see if they make another move. But, it's fun to watch. We'll see when the dust settles here in an hour or two.
Right. Well, now under 2 hours away from this trade deadline, and then we'll decide who won it amongst ourselves. But we won't know until June when the Stanley Cup's handed out. So, okay, this Sober Carpenter's really kicking in, man. It's really got me zen. So Darren in Utah writes in, and he says, many coaches and franchises have had to put up with special players to get a championship. Randy from Winnipeg writes in, and he says, Tarasenko was a plus 17 on a crap team, the Sens. He must back-check to achieve that. All I'm saying was last night he was. So it was a good first impression by Vladimir Tarasenko. He was 0-0-0 on the stat line. He logged 15:09 of ice time, but he didn't hurt his team last night, and he was on his best behavior. But his rap in the NHL is that he's lazy, and there was I don't want to identify these guys. But there was one hockey guy, can I say? I won't say what he did, but because people will guess. But he just goes, he looks out of shape to me. I'm like, He goes, he's keeping his shifts very short, which tells me that he's out of shape. I'm like, okay, well, that's his assessment, And Paul Maurice didn't really say too much after the game about what he thought Tarasenko did. Regarding me, it's 1:11 Eastern. What? Manifest a positive outcome of whatever quagmire you're in. What do you got to lose? Regarding my warm-up situation last night where I got down there an hour early, staked out my spot and wouldn't move. Kids they were stomping all over me, and I'm not moving. Nope. Brent in Florida writes in, and thank you, Brent, by the way, for sticking in and watching throughout the program today. He says, welcome to my warm-up world, Rod. LOL. I don't always do it, but as John in Edmonton says, you should have moved for the kids, Rod. They're only kids. You can get a picture of that player anytime since you live in South Florida. Well, number one, John, You just worry about John. Don't worry about what I do. Okay, let's start there. I know I've told you 1,000,000 times, but here's 1,000,001. Let's just worry. You worry about you, and I'll worry about me. Okay? Secondly, they live in South Florida too. Thirdly, I was doing a job. I was there working. So I don't normally go down for warm-up. Like, I go down if it's special. Okay? Like when the Wild were through and Marc-Andre Fleury, I thought it might have been his last time through. And I don't even know if it's going to be or not. We never know. He's certainly getting up there, Darren. But listen, it's fun watching guys in warm-up. Do you watch? I watch everything in warm-up. I watch how they react to their coaches. I watch how they react to each other. I react to who's working, who's genuinely trying to warm up. Like Eberle, my guy, he doesn't really try to warm up. And I feel like Ebbs, who's been in the NHL a long time, had a lot of success and made a lot of money, he does all his warming up in the dressing room before he even comes out. And by the way, it's not just a hockey thing. We showed up early at the Lakers game to watch Kobe warm up one time, and he wasn't even out with his team. We asked the security why that was. They said, Mr. Bryant was here 3 hours before the game. He works out on his own, warms up on his own before every. Do you get as much out of that as I do?
Oh, yeah. I love watching it. You know, all those different interactions. You know, you get to see who's laser focused, who is a little more relaxed. And I don't say one is better than the other, but you get to just see a little bit of that. Who is, reading the signs that are put up on the glass in warm up, interacting with the kids. You get to learn a lot about a personality during the warm up, which I think is really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, most guys like to be in the press box. I like to be in the press box, but I like to be all over. Like I remember last year, who was the goalie? Was it Alex Lyons? Maybe it was 2 years ago in goal for the Panthers, and Ben Sherratt was acquired on a rental by the Panthers.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been Bob in goal. I don't think it was Bob, but he let in a soft goal, and I was right by the ice, and Sherratt just went, I'm like, oh, boy. That is not good body language. I've been there, and we all have, like when a goalie lets in a soft goal or a quarterback takes a bad sack or throws a bad interception, it deflates everybody. And I don't think people understand that. You got to know what you're looking for. Jaden is watching in Colville, Saskatchewan. He says, this question's more directed for Moose, but what do you think of a potential Bruins-Leafs round one matchup again this postseason? It seems imminent. You've got a minute. You addressed it the other day, but I'll let you address it again because it was a good answer. You're not scared of the Bruins. Bring them on.
I love it. I love it. I think if you're going to, overcome the adversity, you got to go through the adversity. For Toronto, it's the Boston Bruins and maybe Florida too. So I think you got to go and take them head on. You can't dance around it. You can't run from your problems. You got to face them head on. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins are their problem. So listen to me, Leaf fans, when I tell you, embrace it, take them head on, and you got to get through the devil. What do you say? You got to get through the devil to come out on the other side.
You need to look the devil in the eye.
That's it.
Before you start to heal and have a chance to beat the devil. You got to look him in the eye. You can't keep running scared, or you'll be running scared for the rest of your life. And by the way, a great one here from John. John Ohm's in on the action, having fun in Winnipeg. The Stanley Cup, the 2024 Stanley Cup champion, Winnipeg Jets' biggest fan, John Ohm. He says, first come, first serve, Rod. You did nothing wrong with that camera, bro. I know that, but thanks for the affirmation, the positive affirmation. And John Kirby in Edmonton writes in, and he says, I see a camera guy every time I go to an Oilers game get pushed and shoved out of the way by kids and teenagers during warm-up, so it's technically not first come, first serve in the kids' minds. Oh, let's all bow down to the kids. Let them have their way. No, that's what they're used to. So since nobody at home's teaching them the rules of first come, first serve, or a little discipline, I'll do it. I don't mind. We'll be back on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I sure hope you're having as great a day as I am. And you know what? I got to give kudos to our lovely audience because I was annoyed when I came on the air and Dave turned it around. Let's bring in the Moose. He's at the Brand Center in Regina. Even John Kirby, I think, is trying to get out of under my skin, Moose. And, oh, it's Al Cameron. Okay. He's been trying to get under my skin, and I've just been laughing at it. So we've been talking NFL trade. What do you got? NHL trade deadline, football Friday. What, Al? What are you laughing? What are you wowing about?
You didn't know I was in the chair, Rod. I mean, this is why you should be here.
No, he told me.
Florida. that Rod Pedersen is not
Oh,
at
I
the
know.
Montana's Brier in Regina. That's some shameful stuff right there, my friend.
Hey, talk to the officials. I had commitments, you know that. But listen, I apologize. Clark did tell me it's bad. I had my mind on what our viewers are saying, and that's on me.
Understood.
Alan, before we get to the before we get to the really big announcement that you guys made this morning officially after being slipped the other night in the patch, it is playoff time today. Kudos to you for staying awake this long, because I think about you a lot at these events and the days you must be putting in.
Wait a minute.
To get to today. Yeah, what?
Yeah. Well, listen, and it comes right on the heels of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, right? So it's been an intense 2 or 3 weeks, Rod. But you know what? Days like today where I see the fans coming in, it's going to be pretty close to a full house here at the Brandt Center, especially with Saskatchewan playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. A lot of fun.
Well, you're a former newspaper guy. I won't say an old newspaper guy, but you love a story. And with the Territories, Jamie Cooey getting in and Mike McEwen, you know, everybody's holding their breath. He got in. There's some great stories today and this weekend.
Yeah, it's sort of gift wrapped, right? So all those in fact, it's been that kind of a week full of stories. Like, we always knew that there was going to be a Cooey in the playoffs. I don't think we expected that particular Cooey, right? But he's full value. That team has played exceedingly well. But of course, the story of the week has been Team Saskatchewan. And Rod, you know as well as I do that those numbers 1980 kind of stand out to everybody. Rick Polk being the last Saskatchewan team to win this Brier. And listen, Mike McEwen is in his zone. We've talked about it internally with our high performance team. They see Mike just kind of in one of those zones that you love to be in. It's like a guy who can't miss a putt at Augusta. That's what Mike has been doing here this week. And listen, there's no reason to believe he's not going to give these fans a lot to cheer about over the next 3 days.
Yeah, many stories. I mean, would you be willing to broach the subject of, is this the best field ever for a Brier? Because others have. It's certainly up there.
It's in the conversation. It's in the conversation. But what's good about this field, too, is you've got all the greatest names in the sport right here. But you've had some new faces that have made an impact, right? Aaron Sluchinski's team out of Alberta has been great. Matthew Manuel's team out of Nova Scotia. You know, young teams that are on the rise. And that's kind of one of the byproducts of this 18-team format that we've brought in is, yes, you get those top teams, the Dunstones, the Cooeys, the McEwens, the Gushus. You get them all in the field, but you also give an opening to younger teams that are trying to get that experience, and they're coming here and getting reps, and that you can't understate how important that is, not only for today, but also as we look down the road and look to those 2030 Winter Olympics, the 2034 Winter Olympics. You know, some of the teams that we're seeing here today will be in that mix, and it's important to give those young teams the reps under the bright lights at the Montana's Brier.
Well, AC, I want to thank you for whatever role you might have had in the partnership we've had with Curling Canada, because these interviews have been fantastic, man. They've actually gone better than I thought that they would, and that's because of the curlers. They're smart, they've got personality, and Mike, yeah, what?
Well, Rod, you and I both covered a lot of curling and a lot of CFL football, and I think many of the players in both of these sports share the similar traits, right? The filters aren't necessarily there like you see in the NHL or the NFL. They're great unfiltered interviews. They've got some life experience. They're great talkers, and they have a perspective on life and on sports, and that's what makes the stories so much more compelling. And that's why fans really do love these athletes, and it's kind of cool seeing it play out here in Regina.
You know what? And when you say no filters, for sure. I mean, we've done all those same interviews, but these guys are also a little more thoughtful and, if I may, pensive, which is the same word in French.
Yeah.
But like with, like Mike McEwen said, he was born in 1980. This drought doesn't mean anything to him, really. Has he curled like that all week? That it just act like he hasn't shown signs of stress or pressure from the fan base?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, Rod. And you know, the other advantage you might say that he's had is he hasn't been subject to all those questions that other Saskatchewan skips, you know, Steve Laycock, Pat Simmons, etc., over the last 10, 15 years, 20, well, 44 years, have been asked, why has it taken so long? He hasn't had to deal with those questions. And yeah, he's had them once or twice this week, but it isn't weighing on him as a burden as it might have on other Saskatchewan skips at the Brier in the past 20 years.
Yeah, and of course, as we look at today's playoff rundown, Ben Hebert is out there with Team Botcher against Mike McEwen, and it just boils Ben's blood. You're in Calgary, aren't you? Are you still in Calgary, Al? Are you
I
still
live
there?
in Kamloops, actually, so no, I'm in Kamloops.
Oh, you're in Kamloops? Okay. Well, it's
Yeah.
just I see Benny all the time in Calgary, and it drives him nuts that he's not repping Saskatchewan. But that's his own fault. There's nothing he would like more than to spoil the party today. That's a fact. So listen, it's the truth, man. He would say it.
Absolutely.
He basically does.
Yep.
Right?
Well, listen, the rules allow him to rep Saskatchewan anytime he wants. I'm just saying. So he knows he finds the best possible situation for Ben Hebert. Right now, the best possible situation for Ben Hebert is with Team Brendan Botcher. Is it going to be like that in 5 years? We'll see.
Speaking of no filter, that would be Ben Hebert 101. And before we do talk about the Worlds in 2025, let me just ask you this, because we've talked about it with Matt Dunstone and Caitlin Schneider and all these guys through our interviews. This rule that you can have one member of your team not in the province, it's never really been the skip before, but now it is. It's kind of blown people's minds, but the curlers are pretty happy with it. And I think once the fans get used to it, maybe they'll like it too. What do you think?
And strictly speaking, you can have two players from out of province, right? You've got the free agent rule that allows you to bring in a player from anywhere, but you've also got the birthright rule, meaning if you were born in Saskatchewan but are living in another province, you can rep. So that's why Ben Hebert could curl for Saskatchewan at the Montana's Brier, regardless of where he's living in Canada. So yeah, it does. But and people, I get so many emails, Rod, where people say, "Bring it back the old way. All four players should be out of the same curling club." Like it used to be when Ernie Richardson was playing. And here's the simple fact of the matter: that's not doable in today's competitive environment around the world. This is the only country on earth in curling that subjects its teams to any kind of residency rules. Sweden, Scotland, Japan, China, Italy, Switzerland. There's no residency rules. As long as you are a resident of that country, you can curl together as a team. So I think we've got to acknowledge that this is not curling like it was 20, 25 years ago, because the rest of the world has an advantage on us when it comes to how teams are formulated. So we've tried to move that conversation along in baby steps, but it's an understanding that there's changes that have to happen if we want to be competitive at the world level. And I think every curling fan across Canada loves seeing the Maple Leaf on the top of the medal podium. And if that's the desire, there has to be an understanding that goes along with that we can't do things the old way.
You were prepped for that question, and I didn't even tell you it was coming. So, bravo, Al. Well done.
Not my first rodeo,
so
Rob.
How did... Yeah, exactly. How did the announcement go over today that Moose Jaw is going to be getting the 2025 Worlds?
It was a great reception to it. I mean, we've had a history in Moose Jaw, as you know, Rod. We've hosted 2 Scotties Tournament of Hearts there in that Moose Jaw Event Center, which is a great building. And the curling community has been very important in other events as well. In 2 weeks, they'll be hosting the Canadian Wheelchair Curling Championship for the 2nd straight year. Curl Moose Jaw is just an outstanding organization, and that city really came to us full barrel when they said they wanted to host this event. There were some competitive bids out there, Rod, and this one, Moose Jaw made it easy for us.
Well, to be honest, what about Assiniboia? A week ago, I guess you announced them as the
Canadian
National
Curling
Mixed
Championship
for next year. Yeah, so
and
I
that's
mean,
actually,
I don't know if you've been down. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's the 3rd time in 4 years that Saskatchewan has hosted the Canadian Mixed Curling Championship. This season, it was in Swift Current. Last year, Prince Albert, and then in 2025, Assiniboia. And it's really cool, actually. This season, it was a Saskatchewan team skipped by Sean Meacham right out of the Swift Current Curling Club that won. And they'll be going to the World Mixed in Aberdeen, Scotland in the fall. So mixed curling, wheelchair curling, and high performance curling. Saskatchewan's just knocking out of the park right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if you've been down to see the Assiniboia facilities or not, but I got a commentary that runs on the radio there every day. That town is going off that they've got the national mix coming there next year, and they can host it. They've got the facilities. They've got everything you need. So I'll say bravo and thank you to Curling Canada for doing that. But I got to say this, you guys have designated, now I understand the Scotties was very successful in Calgary too. You're going to the places that love curling. You're not dumb.
Well, listen, I mean, it's ultimately there's a business side to this, right? And events such as the Montana's Brier, the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, they make it possible for us to hold all of our other championships, our Canadian mixed, our Canadian seniors, the club championships, the under 21, the under 18s. And so we do have to look at the business side of things when we're awarding these major championships. So, but you know, we are going coastal. I mean, we'll be in Halifax, obviously, in Nova Scotia for 3 big events over the next 18 to 24 months. The Canadian curling trials will be in Halifax. The mixed doubles trials will be in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. The pre-trials in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. So we are taking events out to Atlantic Canada as well. In fact, the Canadian University and College Championships will be later this month in Fredericton, and the mixed doubles championship. So there is a coastal element, but you know, these big events, we do have to look at the business side of things. And yeah, there's a reason we're in Regina and Calgary and places like that, and Kelowna next year for the Montana's Brier.
I'm not sure you mentioned the Women's Worlds in Nova Scotia coming up here with my rooting interest, Rachel Homan, representing the country too, right? I mean, she was just on last week, and what a darling. Oh, my God, I love Rachel Homan. That's my team. That's my team. But I will say this, how are you going to fill the void left behind by Jennifer Jones? Well, people need to know that. Because she's mean on television isn't the way that or the ice isn't the way that she really is. And I guess I unfairly said, how are you going to fill the void created by Jennifer Jones' retirement? But you know what, Al? I think the right answer is you don't.
She's one of a kind, right? I mean, and that was made clear. Not that it was a surprise, but we saw how the reception was to her in Calgary at the Scotties. So yeah, that legacy won't be easy to replace. Fortunately, she's still going to be curling in mixed doubles, and she and her husband Brent will be looking at possibly earning a trip to the 2026 Winter Olympics in Cortina. So we're not seeing the last of Jennifer Jones just as a 4-player team, but yeah, it's her legacy speaks for itself, Rod. It's incredible, second to none.
As is yours, my friend. Thank you for coming on and with delivering the news and talking a little curling. And enjoy the weekend, my friend.
One quick update: the World Wheelchair Curling Championship gold medal game. Team Canada, Saskatchewan's own Gil Dash, is on that team, playing for gold tonight against Norway, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. There is a YouTube stream of that, so go Canada, go. World Wheelchair gold medal on the line tonight for Team Canada.
Dash for cash or for gold. I like it. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Rod.
Al Cameron from Curling Canada, our guest. When we come back, sports update, and the rest of the way, audience takeover. I think Moose will be with us as well. But your comments on whatever you'd like to talk about. Football Friday, the Brier for Montana's, the NHL trade deadline. Who's winning it? We are a little over an hour away from the deadline passing. We are live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Brier Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, it is a Football Friday, and hope you're having as much fun as we are. But you wouldn't really know it because there's so much going on. Let's please bring the Moose back in. He's live from the Montana's Brier. And what did I asked you? I'm getting too many opinions. I'm going to tell everybody that's in my world, just so you know, when this show's over in 20 minutes, I'm turning my phone off potentially for the entire weekend. Because it's too much. And I'm just going to follow what I'm going to follow. What I tell you at the start, I'm excited about the Panthers and the Flames tomorrow. I do have thoughts on what the Flames are doing or not doing. But that's my focus going into the weekend. Not a lot of football. There's not a lot going on around here. It's the Florida Panthers and Calgary Flames tomorrow. How about you? What's kicking in your world heading into the weekend?
Yeah, still following trade deadline closely, but it's curling. They're all walking in right now into the curling. It's going to start here in about 20 minutes. So that'll be my weekend. It'll be here at the rink, and I'll be probably 100% curling throughout the weekend.
Time change this weekend? Did I see that somewhere?
Sunday.
Bingo.
That's right, Sunday.
Yeah. I feel like I saw Fake Gainer was the one that alerted me to that, which is very odd. That the guy in Saskatchewan, where time never changes, alerted me to the fact that it's the time change this weekend.
Actually, on that, not that anybody else cares, but you and I are going to jump into our morning meeting at 9:50, and nobody's going to be there. So it's going to be 10:50 Eastern, starting Monday.
Yeah. Welcome. Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beer, by the way, keeping the host refreshed on this hot summer day here in Florida. So the breaking news on this Friday, let's be honest with you, is from the NHL trade deadline and the NHL. The Winnipeg Jets have acquired veteran winger Tyler Toffoli from the New Jersey Devils in exchange for draft picks. New Jersey will receive a 2024 third-round pick and a 2025 second and retain 50% of Toffoli's salary. He's got 26 goals, 18 assists in 61 games for the Devils this season. He's previously played for the Kings, Canucks, Canadians, and Flames. I'm just reading from the Canadian Press story here. It's the second big trade the Jets have been involved in this season after acquiring Sean Monahan from Montreal in February. So I'm just going to stop there and tell you that's our sports update. There's too much. Well, other than this, you're going to laugh at this. Luis Suarez scored in stoppage time, and Lionel Messi also scored after halftime to help Inter Miami tie Nashville 2-2 in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The teams will meet Wednesday here in Florida for the second leg of the home-and-home total goal series and the round of 16. Sports updates brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Horizon, an American saga. In the great tradition of Warner Brothers Pictures' iconic westerns, Horizon, an American saga, explores the lure of the Old West and how it was won and lost through the blood, sweat, and tears of many. Produced by and starring Kevin Costner. In Landmark Cinemas now, Horizon, an American saga. Or, as I like to say, Kevin Costner's in another Western. And brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. Turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. So there's not a whole lot of football going on. We covered it with Jim Barker last hour anyways. I've got two things that I want to say, and they relate to hockey. Number one, it just warms my heart that I've been asked probably 20 to 30 times what I think about the Vladimir Tarasenko trade for the Panthers. I just love that people care what I think about it. That makes me very happy. But number two, I don't know if this is in your circle, if the people that you run with are talking about the Flames, what they're doing or not doing. There are so many messages come in here. I can't get to the one that came in from Ron in Calgary earlier, but he's all excited. Flames went into Tampa last night and won 6-3. Darren, I asked everybody that I could think of, what's the story on Markstrom? What is the story? Why is it not a bigger deal that this might potentially be his last game ever as a Calgary Flame last night? Nobody said a bloody word. And when they won 6-3, the place that I went to get my Flames information was flamesnation.ca. Those buggers are doing 1 million hits a month. Flamesnation.ca. They didn't even mention anything about Markstrom potentially playing his last game. Stick with me. So I thought he's just staying. The owner nixed the trade. It's not happening. And in that regard, I feel like if I'm Craig Conroy, I would walk in and say, here's my pen. You do the job, Murray, because what do you need me for? If you're going to nix trades or veto, which is exactly what Ken King did before, back in the day when Ken was around. So my point is the Flames people are all excited. They're excited about the young guns, but you still got a disgruntled goalie there in Jacob Markstrom who had the rug pulled out from him. He said he's upset about it. There's sore feelings. You said it yesterday or the day before. You don't come back from stuff like that. So if you really wonder why Noah Hannafin didn't want to sign and Chris Tanev didn't want to sign and Gaudreau and Tkachuk wanted out, and now Markstrom wants out, but you still have him, this is why. Please don't come back to me in the summertime and say, what? I don't want to see this anywhere on social media. Why doesn't anybody want to play in Calgary? Because this is why. And it's not about it's not a great city. The rink's fine. The rink is fine. It's because people know, not think, know you're never going to win there if you play for the Calgary Flames. Sorry. That's what I want to get off my chest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough spot right now. I mean, Craig's making the best of a tough situation. Conroy is the GM.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
I think they've done some really nice things. You know, you hear from Calgary that the culture is changing a little bit because of Craig Conroy. that they're moving in the right direction. But imagine how much faster it could move if he was able to have full control and make the decisions he felt were best for the organization. So I think, you got to trust your people, let them do what you've hired them to do. And I think the Flames long-term can be okay. Craig Conroy seems to be the right man for the job, but we'll see if he has the opportunity to actually see it through.
You could hire Casey and Finnegan to be the general manager. It wouldn't matter if the owner's going to fiddle in things. Sorry. Colin in Ottawa says, big question for the rest of the trade deadline is whether the Bruins trade one of their goalies. My guy Brent here in Florida, where did I put my sober carpenter? He writes in and he says, put your feet up, friend. Enjoy that sober carpenter black ale and enjoy your weekend. Everybody that's watching in Florida, you can get yours at Total Wine and Spirits. Just ask for it by name at your local beer, wine, and spirits store. Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. Stacy's watching at Access World Headquarters and says, I don't think Markstrom's getting moved. Well, I don't think so either, but again, it goes back to the fake news. Like, I don't understand what I'm missing here. I saw this morning I don't remember, was it Elliot Friedman, Chris Johnston, Darren Dreger? My God, I don't know. It's not their fault, it's their job. Goalie discussions are underway. I just saw that this morning, involving the Flames and da-da-da-da-da-da. So you might move them. I don't get it. Are you moving them or are you not? That's why I'll be glad when this is over in an hour. We'll be back with one final segment. Whatever you'd like to bring up, we'll be back on Game Plus TV, WQE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
It's the overtime segment, proudly brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And not only am I hitting it first up when I'm back in Calgary, I'm going to drag Darren DuPont with me too. It's the hockey capital, Calgary, and it's the perfect place for Overtime Hockey Lanes. Come check it out. Work on your game. They've now added lacrosse. 28th Street Northeast, proud partners of the RP Show, Overtime Hockey Lanes. Let's please bring the Moose in. And before we play breakaway bets, and I don't know, did you tally up last night, Darren? Did you?
I did not. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
How bad was it?
Of the 12 games, I had 6 right. You had 5. So that's not bad.
That's not good.
You did pick the Bruins to win. You did pick the Bruins to win. So there's that. By the way, I love this. The people that are just waiting in the weeds. They're watching and they're waiting for their name to be called, and then they pounce.
Right.
Like Ron Thompson in Calgary. I was just talking about him. How excited he is about his young Flames. And he's written in on the Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-33. And he says, Markstrom stays, just like I said. LOL. He did. And as a matter of fact, it was yesterday at 12:27 p.m. Markstrom is staying in Calgary. And he nailed it. So, Ron knows far more what's going on with the Calgary Flames than I do. And he earlier on, by the way, did write in and say, Conroy has turned 5 expiring contracts into 14 to 15 assets. He's done what he said he was going to do. Flames are on the right track for a solid rebuild. That part's all true. It's all true. Yeah. All I'm saying is your goalie's not happy. And in today's day and age, you need your players to be happy. That's all. And I could be wrong. It's happened like twice, ever. But I got the show. Okay. There are 4 games tonight. Do you want to play breakaway bets or do you want to take a knee?
I feel like Matthew McConaughey. Remember that show with Al Pacino, 2 for the Money? And he came in picking all the games. And then he started mailing it in because he was living on the high life, right? And then he started tanking. I feel like McConaughey here. I start doing curling, mailing in the hockey picks, and all of a sudden I'm getting the kick, the heave-ho out of here.
Hey. And Matthew McConaughey ended up in a field with a gun in his mouth. And he wasn't holding the gun. So I'm just telling you, son, you might want to pick it up and pay a little more attention to hockey. That's all. That's all.
Big night coming. Big night.
Yeah, there's only 4 games, too. But all I'm saying is I don't know how much people know, and maybe even if they care, but if you work in sports entertainment, if you're not paying attention to how much betting has to do with what we do, you're a dummy. It's almost everything. And it is not easy when you're charging people for their picks. You'd better have them right. Thank God you're not. Okay. Oh, by the way, Ron in Calgary writes in and just says, thanks for all you do, Rod and Moose. And by the way, he found a moose emoji. Were you aware there is one? Yeah, just the moose's head.
Okay.
Ron in Calgary has found a moose emoji. I feel like we've waited all week to break ground like this. It's like discovering plutonium by accident. Okay. 4 games straight up. Pick the winners. The Detroit Red Wings at the Arizona Coyotes. Are you going with the Desert Dogs again? What are you thinking? Detroit at Arizona?
Detroit.
Taking Detroit?
Yes.
Well, I'll take Arizona. They got to win sometime, right? The Minnesota Wild at the Colorado Avalanche. Who wins?
Give me Colorado.
I'll take them too. And they need an emoji of a wagon because Colorado is a wagon. The Winnipeg Jets at the selling off Seattle Kraken. Who wins?
Yeah, I'll take the Jets in this one tonight.
Yeah, me too. Oh, by the way, I'm going to take. Yeah, no, I'm going to take the Avs to beat Minnesota back, and we'll both take Winnipeg, and then Dallas at Anaheim. That, by the way, the home stretch is on. We're in it. We're in it, right? You're going to take Dallas. I'm going to take Dallas. There's no more showcasing players for other teams to look at. Hey, do you want our guy? Trust me, that goes on. That's not happening anymore because the trade deadline has passed. We're full on stretch drive in the National Hockey League, and you're going to see the best of each team every single night, or at least what they want to be their best. Now you can start to put some stock in the wins or the losses. Before you couldn't. Now you can. All right, Moose, enjoy the curling. You did a great job this week. Enjoy the weekend there in the Queen City.
You bet. Have a great weekend too, Rod.
Same thing to all of our viewers. You have a great weekend. If you want to talk to us about sports, do it between these 2 hours, noon and 2 Eastern, Monday to Friday. Until then, we'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend here on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?